Learning Seeds sees a massive gap in the attention paid to the play of 3 and 4-year-olds because we can find places where that play slightly stagnates or stays stuck in a pattern and benefits from scaffolding to expand the child's play experiences so that they're getting a diverse set of experiential learning opportunities that prevent them from staying in a narrow experience of play. In their sensory motor play, we want children to be using all of their senses at the start of their interaction with other objects. So they start doing very concrete things like mouthing objects, dumping objects, and then they start discovering the affordance of that object. Like you can put things into it, you can dump things out of it, you can stack it. As children's sensory experience with objects grows more complex, there's a number of categorical explorations that we want to see their play involve, like sorting things into category, like alphabetizing things, quantifying things. So that categorical thinking with objects is that next step. And from that work, we want to see that experience expand into what is called, sometimes called mentalizing in the literature. So finding all kinds of relationships based on the attributes of the objects, like matching things, sorting a group of materials into one set of groups based on their color, and then resorting those objects into another set of groups based on their function. There's 4 main rules we want children to informally discover about objects. So the technical rules about how the object could be appropriately used. So a spoon is used for scooping things or putting them in your mouth. Conceptual rules about the properties of that object. So now we notice the curvature of a spoon or the way water runs off the dome of it. The conceptual rules lead to technical, go beyond the conceptual rules, and the technical rules lead us to think about strategic rules, like how might I leverage the curvature of the spoon and the typical use cases of the spoon in order to solve a problem in the sandbox where I'm trying to divert water in another direction. And then there's, of course, social rules about how we use and share the objects. And additionally, from moving from the concrete sensory experiences to those physical and mentalizing experiences of the objects, we want to see children get more and more abstract. So there's a wide range of pretend play, and pretend play is early in its emergence at the end of the 2s and the early 3s. But basic abstraction around pretending that I have a spoon, even though right now my hand is invisible, or pretending that whatever object I do have is a spoon, and then noticing the similarities in the attributes. Like, this, if I orient it this way, the length of this object kind of looks like the length of a spoon. So I could pretend it was a spoon if I do this and if I do the scooping motion. That kind of abstraction is important for children to understand the pretend play happening around them in their peers. And in their immediate social group, it is often one of the richest and longest lasting opportunities to join play with their peers. But additionally, these experiences with abstraction lay a foundation for the kind of cognitive abstraction that all learning requires when we go beyond memorization to conceptualizing, right? So if you're in 2nd grade and you're learning about some word called amoebas, and you have to put a concept in your mind about amoebas and understand that it's not something you can touch or taste. You can only see it by using other tools that help you visualize it, but you have to keep in mind the actual object affordances, which is that this is actually smaller than the dot of a pencil, and yet I can blow it up on a screen and think about it, have ideas about it, and understand there's technical rules about how it functions, and I can conceptualize what it should and shouldn't do and how it operates in a larger system. All of that scientific learning is based on an ability to go from sensory experience to contextualized experience, thinking about the affordances of the objects and the rules in which they operate, and to move to more and more abstract relationships with objects. The relationship we want children to build starts with the object dominating the thinking, right? When someone puts an object in their mouth, the object is driving the thinking, and the brain is just going, what does this feel like? What does this taste like? What does this smell like? And all the thoughts are driven by whatever the object offers the brain. As we get more and more abstract in our thinking, we are increasingly saying, what if I was a robot that had a spoon attached to my hand? what would the spoon do? How would it work? And this is the foundation of scientific thinking, of innovating, of collaborating, also of perspective taking, because when we build relationships and interactions with other people, we are imagining what it's like to sort of walk in their shoes. We're imagining their perspective taking. Now, again, perspective taking is something that develops over all of early childhood and then continues to mature into the teens. So we're not imagining that um, children have fully developed perspective taking at 3, but you can see where the foundations come from this sensory experience of objects, where our interaction in the play gets more and more abstract. So that when I take a pile of recycled cardboard tubes from old paper towel rolls, and I pretend that I'm building a village where the cars fly over large cylindrical towers, most of what's happening in that game started with my thoughts and my ideas, and I'm using the objects to realize my ideas versus the objects fully dictating the ideas. Now, did the shape of the tubes influence me? Sure, I'm sure it did. So did probably a wonderful story I read about flying cars and an observation that other children were jumping some pretend vehicles over something. So all of those inputs influence the play. But when I get to that imaginative stage, my abstract thinking is driving the pretending as opposed to the object driving the thinking. And that transition is the important growth we want to see in a child's pretend play, so that they're moving to more ability to take the perspective of other people, engage in the play that's happening around them with their peers, and preparing their brain for more and more abstract experiences with objects and ideas as they move out of the totally appropriate sensory exploration and physical exploration and categorization of the physical world, which is where their learning begins in the twos. And so I wanted to just map out that journey as a little bit of context for the kind of frame we are using to look at children's play when we say, how's it going? Where is it progressing? Where might it be getting stuck? What would help get it unstuck? Because we think there's just such amazing opportunity in the early childhood years to really expand the foundations of children's social thinking and complex abstract thinking that serves them in their group learning environments throughout all the learning they build on top of that foundation. I hope that is useful, and I look forward to speaking with you soon.